It's Kent here from Panama Equity. Just trying to give you an update on all things Panama real estate. Working with a new sound setup here. So hopefully the audio comes in okay. So today, going to give some insight on the kind of people that are buying real estate in Panama with the hope that this information will be helpful if you are a buyer or a seller looking to do some business in the Republic of Panama. So, first of all, we are getting inundated with Americans right now, and the stories are pretty consistent. The reasons are pretty consistent. If they are investors, then they are looking to get out of what they see as a topped off market in the real estate and even stock market. Consistently, folks are saying, no, I just sold my property. It gained, 50% over 4 or 5 years. Just looking to cash out and put some money somewhere else. Maybe they would be moving here in the future. So that's what the Americans are telling us is topped out market and also political. What's the word? Polarity, political infighting, politics, American politics. I mean, I was talking to my grandmother, who is going to be 90 this year, and I said, what similarities are you seeing, or what differences are you seeing based on this generation and the last, whatever, 8 decades of your life? And it sounds like the United States, at least in one person's opinion, is more polarized than it's ever been in terms of politics. Politicians just literally not talking to each other. And we're hearing it as a reason for Panama. And we're talking about it in today's sales meeting, as a matter of fact. And, Panama, to give folks some insight, is a special country. We've got a lot of corruption, unfortunately, which I guess you see that all over the world, but more so in Latin American countries. It's more almost on the table. It's almost accepted, which is mind boggling, the inefficiencies it creates in terms of just not putting money where it's supposed to go, but rather in the hands of politicians who hopefully injected back into the economy. But yeah, going down a rabbit hole a little bit there. Panamanian politics is completely different. Panamanian politics, voter turnout rate is amazing in Panama. Typically it's like 90%, which is awesome. People are, very vocal about their politics, but it's not nearly as divisive as it is in the States. So those are the three reasons that Americans are looking at buying real estate in Panama: is topped out housing market, kind of equities and stock market, and then also, political challenges in the US right now. Hey, a question. Thank you. Focus. American and Panamanian trying to buy a house right now. What are the best banks for a mortgage? So banks for a mortgage, I mean, unfortunately, unless you're making your money in Panama, banks are going to see you as a foreigner despite being a Panamanian, which is kind of eh. But if you're looking at buying a residence, it will be easier than buying an investment property. If you mention that it's an investment property, then you will be charged the FESI, which is the 1% investor sort of surplus on the mortgage rate. Banks lending to foreigners and Panamanians, but in your case, kind of seen as a foreigner, sir, will be, or ma'am, will be Scotiabank, Banismo, um, Banesco. Um, those are the top three, I would say, right now in terms of mortgages. And plan on, if it's an investment property, as high as 7%. That's kind of the highest, like 6+1 and 7. Plan on putting anywhere from 20 to 40% down, unless you're making your money in Panama, in which case it's more traditional lending, which is like 10% down, 10 to 20% down at, let's call it 5.5% for residents, perhaps even slightly lower. And it's always adjustable. So get ready for that ride. They don't offer fixed term mortgages in Panama. Okay, so back to, and thank you for the question. It's nice to know that, we usually interact with folks after the video instead of during, because most people end up seeing these after I do the video. But okay, so what else are buyers? Where are they coming from? What are they looking for? Continuing to get European buyers as well. The other thing about American buyers is it's great. We've had quite a few buyers who have lost deals. You put in, and this is in the States, you're putting in offers, and then you're getting rejected. And it's just people are sitting on equity and they're tired of fighting for a property. There's still some deals to be had in Panama. And overall, I would argue that, Panama real estate market is still off of its high. We sort of peaked in like 2008. That's when regular Avenida Balboa pricing was at like 3,500 a square meter. We're working our way back up there now. So at least there's a bit of a precedent as far as where prices could go. Marion, builder financing any different than bank financing? Yes. Usually it involves a balloon payment, shorter terms. But it's a nice transition to become sort of traditional lending client, right? You become more bankable if you do developer financing because you can show a track record to the bank and they appreciate that. Typically, the rates are similar, sometimes even a bit lower, even with developer financing. But again, they might only carry the loan for 5 years. Um, is is the equity like in the United States when buying a house? Kind of, sort of. I mean, probably not actually. It's higher, right? It's 30 to 40% for a foreigner buying investment geared real estate, which to them is, hey, I'm not going to be living in the property. I'm investing only. So, yeah, thank you for your questions. Okay. So, staying back to the original topic, but happy to pivot as necessary. European buyers are getting some headwind right now with the strong dollar, yet still coming down. We're getting a lot of German buyers. Crazy enough, I think finally word is getting around in Western Europe that Panama is pretty, as we say, tranquilo, pretty relaxed, pretty easy to be a foreigner living here. Cost of living, I think you could probably do better in a small market in the US or in other parts of Latin America, like Colombia, still very cheap compared to Panama. Mexico, still cheaper compared to Panama. That said, we don't have as much crime. We don't have as much sort of a culture of, we do have Juega Vivo, which is be careful, play the game with both fists up and ready to kind of duck and move. That's what I would say Juega Vivo means. Play smart is what it literally means. We have that culture down here, but it's not so much to try to rip somebody off. I've found it's more so, hey, yeah, hey, details, schmetails. We get that. You just be ready for that. Trust but verify. That's why you hire somebody like us to come in and say, we've seen that before. Are you sure? Can you double check that? And they double check it. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. The building is actually 14 years old, so you are now paying taxes. I thought it was 10, and that's why I told you it was 10. You get that. But again, if you know what you're getting into, it's fine. So obviously the war in Ukraine, Russia is very disruptive to European quality of life. I'm sure that, a lot of these people are looking to Panama. They've told us are looking because they see that situation is going to be not resolved anytime soon versus Panama's peace and love. We've got no army. We don't have enemies. We've got China and the Middle East and the United States all shipping goods to and from through our lovely canal. Infrastructure projects continue to move forward. Anyway, that's for a different video. Who else is buying in Panama? Latinos continue to buy in Panama in terms of people from Latin American countries. Colombia, they've got a pretty contentious election going on right now. Looks like the left might come back into power. The left is traditionally more sort of FARC and, that's extreme leftist. Yeah, so folks are a little worried about the politics in Colombia, Peru, Chile, Brazil. Crime has always been an issue. People appreciate the fact that we don't have as much crime. Still the world. So it's not Singapore, right? We still have crime here in Panama, but you'll also not be paying $20,000 a square meter for property. And you can still, for better, for worse, spit on the street versus Singapore. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. Those are Canadians, again, strong dollar, got some headwind there, political issues. Climate is always a big one for our lovely Canadian clients because, hey, it's always warm. We love the tropical weather, pretty consistent. Sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's not, but it's always warm. Even up in the mountains, it's never cold. But hey, that's not for everybody. Yeah. there's still deals to be had. So we're still seeing some value focused buyers. I would say in terms of market timing, it feels like good market timing. I mean, rents tighten up, investor property values tend to go up a little bit because those are driven by yields. Um, New construction is down, so we've got less supply coming up. Employment is up. And obviously, when you get just such a massive amount of US dollars in circulation, that can just force artificial inflation, i.e., price appreciation, just because there's no more buyers, more cash, more people looking to plunk it into real assets. So it feels good. It feels like, despite our last, golly, 8 years of price boringness. It's been flat. Um, if anything, it came down in the pandemic. It's come up, and it's just getting over pandemic levels. It's very neighborhood specific, even very building specific sometimes. Marion, thank you. Wife and I planning a trip there next month for. Haha, pull the plug. Yes. Don't look back. No, I mean, hey, there's a lot of great expat groups out there. You have vocal people saying what they do and don't like about Panama. My advice is always, Marion, um, you know, ask people what they don't like about Panama, because everybody is very glowing about what they love about Panama and why you should come down, because they see people like the Crutchfields and they're like, oh, yeah, you guys are awesome. We want you to be our neighbors. Um, Find out what they don't like about Panama, find out what they miss about where they're from, find out what they find hard to bring down um, to Panama. I would say those are some things to think about, and just go in with an open mind. Panama's not the US. Panama's Panama. And all the good and the bad has formed a culture, and cultures are all different. So, if you can be accepting, understanding, with the idea that, hey, I do not have the answers. I am just a dude from the United States that's down in a country, and appreciate y'all having me. I'm not going to try to change things. I came down in 2007 and wanted to change the way people drive. So I would roll down my window and say, man, you didn't have to do that. And they just look at me like, this guy. I stopped. My wife calls it the professor, like I'm trying to teach people how to drive. You can't change habits. So anyway, accept it. Rereading your question. Anything we should know before we pull the plug on the United States? No. I mean, assume you've been down here already. And hey, it's not hard to go back to the US either. Here's one thing you should know. It's easy to buy. Sometimes it's a little tricky to sell. Sales costs in Panama are about 10%. So, we generally charge 6% on the commission, and taxes are about 5%. So really there's 11% when you sell. And we haven't had 11% appreciation in the last 10 years. It depends on what you buy, right? It's very building specific, deal specific, timing specific, but across the board appreciation in the Panama City market, no. Beach market, some beach markets. Mountain market, no, I don't think so. So that's a little bit tricky. Remains to be seen what will happen in the future. Like I was, at the beginning of this little broadcast, I'm still optimistic about Panama's potential. Of course, I got a horse in the race, right? But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Happy to answer questions after I hit stop. Learn Spanish. I like that. Eso mismo, señor. Learn slang, Panamanian slang. I should do a video on slang because it opens doors. Chuleta, which is literally pork chop, is the equivalent of like, shoot, darn, chuleta, like shucks. It's a good one. Queso pa is a little crude. That's sort of like what's up to taxi drivers. What's a good sort of pana? Pana's nice. That's like friend. Amigo, pana. There you go. Learn Spanish, and I would say learn Panamanian slang, and that plows down gates. Panamanians are lovely, by the way. They're used to having foreigners, like from the beginning. literally from the time this country became a country, there were foreigners. It was the French and then the Americans. And before that, they were Colombia. During that time, they were Colombia. So the Panamanian by name is new still and has always been almost across the board very accepting of foreigners as a fact of life. So, as a foreigner, you're a little less novel. But yeah. Um, DC, yeah, I know. US, oh, I wish. It'll be fun when we get back to a seller's market. But right now it's very much buyer's market. So hey, timing is everything, right? The 3 Ds of real estate: death, divorce, and distress. Uh yeah, anyway, I'll sign off on that one. Marion, come on down. And everyone else, thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be on. And yeah, give us a call if you need anything. Everybody that works for my company is terrific, straight shooting, and we do what we say we're going to do. So thank you. Bye bye.